Think we got it?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, good. I'm only 4 minutes late today. That's not too bad. That's pretty good, actually, for a Monday. So, first of all, good evening to everybody. I apologize. We kind of got shifted up a little bit last week. There were some different events going on, and I wasn't able to do both of the live streams, the video chats that we usually do, one at 12 in the afternoon and then one at 6 o'clock in the evening. Because there were some different things going on, I was unable to do that the meeting in the evening. A pastor of mine that I had spent about 20 years with had passed away in Landmark Baptist Church up in Richmond, and I needed to attend the viewing there and was able to spend a little bit of time with the family. So I apologize to everybody for not being here last week when we did this. So I wanted to make sure that we did it tonight. That I know some people can't get together in the afternoon, and so I just wanted to make sure that I at least offered the opportunity to spend time with you, some of you that are at Better Works in the evening. So again, this is our live stream chat. We talk a little bit about what's going on in our community, what's going on in the department, things that we're coming out of, and things that we're going into. You know, we're here the last day of September as we start October tomorrow, and that's a big month for us here, and it's one of the big issues that we have in this community and our department. And we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about that. So what I'd like to do, Jeff, thanks. It's good to see you tonight. What I'd like to do is just touch on a couple things. I want to talk about, give you an update of where we are on our crime stats, statistical data, where we're at for the year, where we stand as a city. And then we're going to talk about youth, the young adult police commissioners. We're going to talk about a recruit class for a minute. We're going to talk about the football games that have been going on in the city, the success that we're seeing there, and some really good football, by the way. And then a couple other trainings that we have coming up that we're doing. So first off, we had our staff meeting today. Crime numbers came out this afternoon. Not much has changed. We're about the same place. We were at an 8.3% reduction in overall crime last week. This week we're at 7.8%. So we lost about 3 or 4 percentage points. So that fluctuates a little bit. We're still down in every category except one. We're down in our homicides, we're down in our rapes, we're down in our robberies, we're down in our burglaries, our auto thefts, our larcenies. The only crime we're up in is aggravated assaults. So an aggravated assault is our shootings, our stabbings, our beatings, or domestic situations where years ago, if you grab someone's throat, it was still considered simple assault. Now that's considered strangulation, and that's an aggravated assault. That is what is driving our aggravated assault crimes, is our domestic violence. We are down in our shootings. We're down in every other category except domestic violence. Those domestic violence assaults continue to stay consistent and increase. That's where we're struggling. And it's such a hard crime. You know, so much of that happens behind closed doors. It doesn't happen outside in the open. And whether it's, we're going to talk about some triggers and things that happen to set that. Maybe some indicators that we could have to pick up on, is not only as police but citizens as well. But domestic violence is a real issue. It is one of the top priorities for me in this department, and it affects so many people. It affects not only the victim, right, male or female, but also family members, children. I think that's probably the most heart-wrenching, to go to a scene and there's been some type of domestic assault, and children are there that grew up in an environment where that's occurring. Or they're experiencing it. They try to keep that inside. It affects our communities, our neighborhoods. It affects the men and women who respond to those calls. Doctors and nurses who assist, paramedics and fire department that respond. It is a tough crime. And not to mention our Commonwealth Attorney's Office. And I will tell you, Howard Gwynn is a champion with me in our passion to reduce domestic violence in the city. He has some of the best attorneys. I feel their passion when we sit down and talk, and it's a sense of urgency. What are we doing? What are we going to do next? And I like that. I think that's what we have to be. You can't just sit back and look. We have to really focus on it. So October is Domestic Violence Month. A couple of things we're going to do in the department is we're going to do a series of videos that we're going to release. I did a video early this morning just talking about awareness and asking people to get involved. If you see something or hear something, to please say something. And then I try to be put on a little personal side, that anyone out there who's suffering from domestic violence, that's experiencing it as we speak, I ask that you come forward, that you call us and let us know. Or if you're afraid, if you're worried about embarrassment or worried about family or issues with children, to tell someone, a faith leader, a coworker, someone that you would trust, another family member that would call us and let us intervene. I want to see you get help. I don't want to see you get hurt. I'd much rather knock on a door and a citizen calls and says, we think something's going on. We hear screaming. We hear wrestling. We knock on the door and it's nothing, as opposed to someone not calling and we're putting crime scene tape up at 2 or 3 in the morning. And I've seen that happen all too often. In fact, just 4 or 5 of our homicides this year have ties to domestic violence. That's almost 25% of the homicides in this city have ties to domestic violence. We currently have 18 homicides this year. This time last year we had 20. We're down, shootings are down about 23%, and we've recovered about 150 more firearms this year than we had this time last year. When I look at those crime statistics, we're moving in the right directions. Homicides are down, robberies, shootings, larcenies, burglaries, vehicle theft, they're all down. Vehicle theft frustrates me somewhat, because about 50% of the vehicles that are stolen in this city are left unlocked, windows down, car running, keys on the seat. The same thing with theft from vehicles. That's a crime that I think a little more vigilant, a little more ownership of citizens would deter that and reduce that crime. But the crime where we continue to have challenges is domestic violence, not just on the deterrent side, but on the intervention and also on the prosecution. When others decide not to come forward or fear or afraid of what might happen. So I just want to take this moment and just stress to you that the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, the Newport News Police Department, we care. You matter. And if there's anything that I can do or we can do as an agency, as a city, that we want to try to help. Domestic violence is real, and it ruins lives. It makes a lot of impact on people's lives that you can try to suppress, but it's there. Kids see it, family members, our communities. So if you're experiencing it, or if you know someone who is, it is our duty to intervene. It is our duty to help them, because they may not be able to. But I just thought we should talk a little bit about that, and I wanted to share my heart a little bit about that. It greatly concerns me, and it frustrates me that we're not making a dent in that. Now, we're doing good work, don't get me wrong. The cases, just about 90% of the cases we respond to, whether it's domestic related, we make an arrest. But that's the stats that we know about. That's the calls that we receive. My concern are the ones that we don't. Just Saturday, I got to participate in a domestic violence walk with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. We started at Wells Fargo there at Thimble Shoals and City Center and walked to the fountain. And then there was some really good some speeches, some ideas, thoughts, strategies that we talked about. And then we heard a lot of statistics. But again, that's the ones we know of. The ones that concern me are the ones that we don't. And I just ask you to help me. The other things, well, let me see who, I want to make sure I say hello to everybody who's here. Kelly, thank you. I appreciate you. Kim's good to see you. It's really good to see Amanda, thank you. Thomas, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think I appreciate the comments. One of the other things I wanted to talk about are our football games in our community. We had some incidents that happened around Todd Stadium a couple weeks ago. And we sat down. Hey, Ben, it's good to see you, my friend. Mike, thank you. We had some incidents that happened around about 2.5 weeks ago, and we sat down. Dr. Parker and Rashad Wright, Jeff Nelson called me, and we sat down. We had a really good meeting about our football games and dealing with our students and our games and making sure that safety, the traffic plan. We talked about all these things. At the end of the meeting, high school football is a huge event here in Newport News, right? And I enjoy it. I go to just about every game. I enjoy going out there, interacting with the parents, the students, the fans, and I enjoy watching high school football. I think we have some of the most talented athletes. But for me, again, it's a place, it's an event in our city, and I want people to feel safe there, and I want people to have a good time there. So we restructured some things. We now have a different traffic plan. You'll be seeing more officers working those games, officers stationed at strategic locations, interacting with the crowd. When the game's over, we're also going to have officers in the parking lot, right? You're going to see blue lights up and down Warwick Boulevard where the exits are. We've rerouted the traffic pattern, and we're having that lot cleared just in about 25, 30 minutes. So I wanted to make sure how that worked. Wanted to see how that worked to make sure it was going very fluid. And I think we're just getting better and better at each game. There's been 6 games since the shooting that had occurred there in that area about 2.5 weeks ago, and it has made a tremendous difference. And I don't just say that from what I see. I say that from the citizens who come up and talk to me and other officers and thank us for being there. They talk about the traffic pattern and how they're getting out of there. We rerouted some streets, some exits. But the emails that come in from citizens that I haven't met and just say thank you. But I want people to know that the high school football, Todd Stadium, is a great place. It's a great place to bring your family. It's a great venue. It's good football. It's good interaction. It's something to be proud of, and I want our youth to enjoy it, our citizens to enjoy it. I enjoy interacting with the crowd and teasing some of the kids that I see in the area out there. But I think we've got doing a really good job there. It's a little different, and it'll take a little while for some people to understand the exits and ingress and egress that we're using there. But it seems to be working really well. We're all in reflector vests. We're a little bit easier to see. I like having those lights on in the parking lot, and we're increasing some of the lighting out there. So I feel like it's made a difference, and I was trying to add to the experience of it being enjoyable atmosphere. And the school resource officers who are in our high schools are the ones primarily that are working that assignment. They know the kids, they've interacted with them before, and I think it just adds a little bit more closer bonding and shows support for this department and the youth of our city. So I just wanted to touch base a little bit on that. Let me catch up here, make sure I haven't missed anything. Very good, very good. CRAZE training, that's something I wanted to talk a little bit about. CRAZE training is a training that we do about active shooter. The tragedy that happened in Virginia Beach. Our city manager and city officials moved very, very quickly to make sure that we have a safe environment for our employees in this city. And one of the things is how to respond if there were to be an active shooter type incident, to have some type of training. So we worked with the police department and some other entities in the city, and we are training every city employee about active shooter training, how to respond, what to look for, signs. Sometimes behavior changes and people that say things, 10, 15, 20 years ago, it may have just been some flippant conversation, some flippant comment, right, that we hear. But we can't have that now. We have to take things seriously. Just like bomb threats at a school, we take those things seriously and investigate them to the fullest. And again, if you hear something or say something, I would much rather look into an incident, a conversation, a comment, and it be nothing at all, than someone to have heard something and not report it and something tragic happens. So I think it's very important. I think it was very, very thoughtful to plan these trainings, but we're going to train every employee in the city of Newport News, and the police department's playing a big role of that. We've got some great instructors. We have 8 instructors here in the city that are providing that information, training what to do, what to look for, how to react, signs, things to be aware of, things you should report, just concerns, and I think we'll continue to develop and grow and get better. But I do think it shows a lot of foresight for the city manager and city officials to make that an emphasis that we're going to train every city agency, every city employee in this department about dealing with threats, active shooter type situations. We do some seminars and some trainings with our churches a couple times a year, and this I think is a way to work with employees here in the city, and just to make sure that that they have that training. I think it's important. I think people that work for the city of Newport News matter, right? And just there's a lot of people coming and going, whether they're paying their bills, working at the school system, city government, city hall, our mayor's office, our city council, the police department, the fire department. But we want to make sure that people have training and awareness, and I just think it's the right thing to do. Let's see what we got here. Dorothy, hey, I'm glad to see you. So glad you're talking about addressing safety in local football games. Thank you. Dorothy, thank you. I hope you get out to see a game that, like I said, I really enjoy the high school football games. I have a good time there. And it is a different scene and a different vibe, I think, if you come out in the last 6 games. And how about that win we just had over our sister city, huh? Woodside played great football. That was a great game. Ford, thank you for working on the safety at that stadium. Ford, I appreciate that. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Tom, thank you. That means a lot. My son's neighborhood watch losing our CRO has been difficult. Lewis was wonderful. So, Ben, let me talk a little bit about that. You haven't lost any CROs, but I will tell you, I'm just going to be very, very frank. One of the things I try to do is be open and transparent. A community resource officer, right? Just say that. A community resource officer is singular. And one of the concerns I have is when I got here and we talked about what they do, it was just one officer. And my feeling is if I've got 100 officers in a precinct and I have one as a title of a community resource officer, that one officer has all the assignments, and there's no way they can handle them all. Even when they're off, who's doing them when they're off? So I put those together along with our school resource officers, right? So instead of having one in each precinct, which is a total of 3, now I have a group of about close to 20. And they focus on larger events in our communities, our police athletic leagues. We're out coaching basketball. We're out coaching girls basketball, boys basketball. We've had 2 seasons already. We had a kickball program in the summer. The stuff that we partner with the 8 boys and girls clubs up and down Newport News. So you haven't lost them. They're still here. They all work together. But what would happen before is when we had one community officer and they were at a community event and needed help, because it's hard just to do those events with one person. They have to pull people from the street. Now they've got a pool of about 20 officers that I can do much, much more and much bigger. And a big thing for me is interacting with our community, but primarily our youth. And it gives me a bigger venue and more manpower that I can use to address that. It's funny you mentioned Brittany. She's one of the best that we have. She's working down on recruiting now, and I will tell you she's a big part of officers coming to this organization. And for the first time in over 40 years, at least 40 years, this department, when this class, I got my fingers crossed, when this class graduates in December, we're going to be fully staffed. And the first place I'm going to place those resources are in the precincts. When a citizen picks up the phone and dials 911, or officers patrolling our neighborhoods, precincts have to be fully staffed. And I had some concerns with those levels before of making sure that I had enough people in areas even to do proactive work. So she has done a great job there. And she did a great job as a community resource officer, but I think we've expanded that. And instead of 3, now there's a group of about 20 that interact with our young adult police commissioners, that interact with our Boys and Girls Club, that do our summer programs, that are helping us adopt schools, working more with youth in the city. So it's much, much bigger and broader. So I just share that because I don't want you to think you've lost them. They're still here. They're just working a different location. They're centrally located. And now I can send 5 or 6 to an event, and I don't have to pull officers from neighborhoods patrolling. So there's a lot of direct people that you can talk to there. And as a matter of fact, it's so important to me that I created that division and put a captain, 2 lieutenants, and 3 sergeants over that division. And as we expand, as our department grows, I plan to put more officers there. It is vital that we interact with our community. But I just wanted to share that with you. Aaron, why are the police writing so many tickets for some minor traffic things, clogging up court, 2nd floor, went 2 days, I was out the door. They're very more important police issues. So Aaron, let me share something with you. It's a great question. When I got here, I met with the judges, and the judges said that the traffic docket, traffic tickets were down by about 25%. And I don't know about you, but we have way too many traffic accidents in this city, and we have way too many traffic fatalities in this city. And traffic enforcement is important. It's important not only to enforce laws, but reduce speeds, reduce accidents. And I will tell you, my plan is when we get fully staffed at the end of December, at the start of next year, we're going to create a traffic division, individuals that specialize in traffic accidents, traffic enforcement. We can use that around areas that we're having problems. One of the things that we have in Newport News is in some of our neighborhoods, it's individuals who come from other neighborhoods and prey on people in those areas. So you can use traffic enforcement around areas where we're seeing a spike in larcenies or home burglaries, right? People breaking into homes. And it will give me a group of officers that I can move around. But the number one thing is I want to track those traffic accidents. So you say they're more important, but if you go back to the 80s, right, or the 90s, the broken window theory, if you let little things go, sometimes traffic ticket saves a life. If one traffic ticket makes sure that someone's buckled up, or that a child or an infant is in a seat belt, in a car seat, that's important to me. And I tell you, I see those reports every day, and we have way too many fatalities and we have way too many accidents. So it's not just something to do on a whim. There is a reason for it, but traffic enforcement is important. And the judges, I agreed with them when I saw the numbers, had a great concern that those dockets had really dropped. So it's not that we're just trying to write tickets, but I want people to drive safely on the streets in Newport News. I have people getting injured and hurt, way too many. We have way too many accidents in the city and way too many injuries and fatalities, and we got to do a better job. So we are going to place an emphasis on traffic enforcement. Now, officers still have discretion, but I think it's very, very important when we travel up and down the streets. And some of the accidents here have been pretty horrific, and I just want people to slow down, obey the traffic laws, and be safe. So that's the reason behind it. Now, I'm not even talking about, we haven't even talked about DUI enforcement, right? Those things are real, and people get injured, and I want to make sure that I'm doing, that this department's doing the best job we can to address that. So that is the reason, but we are going to focus on traffic enforcement in the city. Violet, thank you all. Violet, thank you. I appreciate that. Crumpet, thank you. It's good to hear from you. Thank you. Nettie, how are you? I hear things are going really good in your neighborhood. Courthouse Green, I hear you guys are doing really well. Chief Brandon Creswell's up there, and he's doing a really good job. We were just talking about Courthouse Green today at our staff meeting. That's one of the neighborhoods that we're focusing on all year long. And I'm really, when I see the numbers out of that neighborhood, I'm really impressed. Well, we did some walking beats back in the summer, and we talked about we're going to get back into that starting in October. You're going to see officers. We're going to select some areas, some neighborhoods to do bicycling and walking. Not driving around in a car, but bicycling and walking. We're going to look at that for the month of October, and then maybe expand it into November. But I want to get back a little bit of that. Well, we still have some nice weather. As the weather starts to change and get a little cooler, and my gosh, after this weekend, I'm ready for some snow tomorrow. You know what I mean? But I don't want officers to lose that touch, and I think it's a good time to get those bicycles out, walk a little bit in the neighborhoods, and I enjoy getting out and walking with the guys as well, and just talking to citizens and creating some conversation. Austin's a good point, and we can look at that, some different opinions. But I can't just say we're only going to write tickets for this issue. I don't want to do that. I give the officers have discretion. But I will tell you, Austin, some of those scenes I go to that are pretty horrific. And traffic enforcement is a proven tool to reduce crime, to improve highway safety, to improve the streets. And I'll tell you, if you go up and down Jefferson Avenue and Warwick, you will see people speeding. I can't tell you the number of, I'll bet you I've got 20 emails just in the last 3 weeks of citizens complaining about speeding in neighborhoods. And one of the things that happens, and I talk to citizens when so Austin, that's a great point, but one of the things is when citizens will have concerns about speeding, I can't select, okay, we're only going to stop people who don't live in this neighborhood. So you'll be surprised, but about 75% of the individuals, when we do traffic enforcement in a neighborhood where citizens have complained, 75% of the individuals being stopped are people who live in that neighborhood. I don't get to select. We don't select, we're just going to stop this car or during this time frame. If we're going to do traffic enforcement, we look at the traffic complaints. We try to address that, whether it's a DUI checkpoint, traffic enforcement. So, you could say, well, that's a minor offense. But if that minor offense saves somebody's life or prevents things from escalating, I can't pick and choose, and I don't want officers to just pick and choose that we're only going to enforce this law and not these laws. So they have the discretion. Sometimes, so I can't speak for every officer, but for me, if I stop someone for speeding and, hey, sir, I didn't know that I was going over. I apologize. Here's what I was doing. It may just be something. Be careful. And I may give them a break. But on the other side, if we stop someone and they're like, why are you wasting our time? I've got stuff to do. You got more important things to do. That's someone that tells me that they're not taking it seriously, that it doesn't, and I'm telling you, it is heart-wrenching to go to some of these traffic accidents. And it is one way. It's not the only way, but it is one way to enforce traffic laws, and it is proven to reduce accidents and safety. So I understand some frustrations on the minor offenses, but like I said, I do want us focusing on traffic, at least till I see some decreases, because we have way too many accidents and way too many fatalities in this city. Patty, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining. Mike, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Melissa, Anna, it's good to see you. Thank you. Anna, thank you for all the stuff that you do in the community. I don't get to say that enough, and I appreciate what you do. Your DUI needs to be enforced. I lost my... Oh, now see, you guys got to help me with it. Due to DUI, I miss her, and it's been 18 years. So, Ms. Crumpet, let me say this to you. I understand. And that is one of the reasons we do traffic enforcement. When we stop someone, we don't always know what we're stopped. We know what the infraction was. But it may be someone who's running a red light, that's driving no headlights on, that doesn't have a driver's license, or that is could be or would have been in an accident. We don't get to pick and choose. So I I just, we've talked about it a little bit, but I believe that traffic enforcement is important, and I do want the officers to focus on it. And we will have a traffic division, as long as staffing permits, as we turn into 2020. It's one of the things I think we need, and the goal of that, my heart, what I'm sharing with you is my heart, is to reduce accidents and fatalities in this city. Debbie, I think she missing. Debbie, it's good to see you. Nick, gotta make sure I'm reading that right? Please go see it. The police academy seems to be the police academy seems to intimidating to me. No, Nick, so Nick, when officers graduate the police academy and get in the streets of Newport News, we try to do the best we can to prepare them for what they're going to experience in the city. I wish there was a book that told us exactly, but you can't. All I can do is give you a background. But we encourage people to do ride-alongs to understand the calls that officers get to start hearing that radio traffic in their ear. And there is a lot going on. But you start to as you do it, you begin to process it. Just like anything new, it's something different. But you do go to calls where citizens are upset. You do go to calls where mothers and fathers ask you to make their kid get up and go to school, or we have a missing child. We go to calls where individuals, there may be someone that is suffering from a critical incident, and family members are upset and erratic. And we have to be compassionate to that. We go to situations where we deal with individuals that may be overdosed or high on some type of illegal narcotic or alcohol. And we have to deal with those individuals. We have to deal with those situations. We have to deal with individuals who lose loved ones, or that someone close to them is hurt or injured. So we try to teach you as much as we can, but you really, as you go, look, I've been doing this for 27 years and I don't know it all. I'm not a master of any of it. But we try to expose you as much as you can instead of just taking, look, this is in my opinion, a heroic profession. It's a hard job. We're not just walking off the street, putting on a uniform and going to work. Our citizens deserve better than that, and we're going to make sure that we train our officers better than that. They deserve the very best we can. So don't let it intimidate you. What happens, I think, sometimes is people come into this job and, hey, I can go through, put on a uniform and I'll be in K-9 tomorrow, or homicide or forensics tomorrow. But there's a lot of things that go into it, and you have to learn a lot of them, absorb a lot. I can tell you this, the two things that will make you a successful officer: care about people. Be open and honest with people and show them that you care about them. If you get into this profession to become rich, you're wrong choice. If you're getting into this profession to change someone's life, improve it, to help people when they have needs or in trouble, it's a great profession. And you never know what kind of call you're going to get. Every day is different. So I'd say anyone who's thinking about joining the police department, certainly come in, talk to us, do a ride-along, spend some time with us. And go for a walk and just have a conversation, talk to recruiters. But you'll never be a master of it. It's always changing. Technologies change, laws change, people change, expectations change. So if you're in the academy, what I tell the recruits is don't look 7 months down the road. Look to tomorrow morning, day by day. Absorb as much as you can, ask questions, interact, and take it day by day, because it's a learning process from the day you walk through that door to the day you're sworn in until the day you retire. But it is a great profession, and it's not for everyone. I completely understand that, but it is a great way to serve your community and to help others who are in need. Anna, hi Chief, just wanted to thank you for all of yours. Anna, thank you, I appreciate that. Megan, it's good to see you, thank you. So Renee, good morning, it's good evening now. Pam, good to see you. I like your fairness, respect to our officers, respect yourself. Pam, thank you, I appreciate that. How are you, my friend? Hanging in there. So far, so good, right? I have a new neighbor that I suspect is up to something. Meets his friends for a few minutes. They end up in the street. Comes back and gives back. Any advice? Yes, Patty. Let me tell you that's a great question. I get those calls a lot. And Chief, can you do this? Can you do that? So all I need is a phone call, an address, time, and as much information as you have, and then we'll take it from there. You don't have to stand outside and hold up a sign and say, I'm providing information, or I'm asking off. That's exactly what I want people to do. And I will tell you, I talked about our crime reduction that we're seeing in all our categories except aggravated assault. What I didn't talk about is our clearance rates. Our clearance rates is if we have 10 crimes and we clear 2 or 3, that's a 20 or 30% clearance rate. our clearance rates are all above the national average. Our homicide clearance rate is 77%. That means of the 18 homicides that we've had this year, we've already cleared 12, and we've cleared 2 homicides from years past, or we would call those cold cases that detectives have still been working. But that's because citizens are calling. They're not waiting for something to happen and just being reactive. That's one of my biggest fears in law enforcement, is that we will become a reactive agency. What I'm looking for is to address things before they happen. I would rather write someone a traffic ticket for running a red light or a stop sign than I would for making a involuntary manslaughter case, responding to an accident where an infant is hurt, trying to do things on the front end. So I guess my point is, call us, let us know what that address is, describe the house or apartment, hotel room, whatever it might be, and we'll do the rest. We just need some basic information. It's kind of like pointing us where to start, and we'll go the rest of the way. But that's what I would do. Call. You can call my office, or you can call the precincts where you live, the north, south, or central. We'll get it to the right people. But I really appreciate that, and that's exactly what will change the city, is people getting involved, taking their neighborhoods back. You know, you take 2 neighborhoods, neighborhood A and neighborhood B. If I go to neighborhood A and I look into car doors, windows, right? I'm looking into cars, and the next day I'm opening cars and taking things out of them. The next thing I'm breaking into homes, and nobody calls. That becomes a place where criminal activity can fester. If I go to neighborhood B and citizens call when they see someone, there just may be people in the neighborhood, and that's fine. We check on them, and then we leave. But that sends a message to that criminal element that this neighborhood's hot. They're not going to tolerate that kind of stuff. Citizens and neighbors who get involved, the crime in their neighborhoods are so much less than those who turn a blind eye and just let it occur. So I just encourage you to get involved and make those phone calls, and I promise you it'll work. Mike, I did my ride-along 2 weeks ago. Best things Mike, I appreciate that. Did a ride-along 2 weeks ago, and one of the best things you could have, and it makes a world of difference. It opens your eyes a little bit to see things, to hear things, not only how officers are, but how the community looks at police and law enforcement, how we get to serve and interact, situations that we find ourselves in. So it really is telling. I could sit here and talk to you and read the manuals to you and tell you everything, but when you're in that car and you go on that call and you respond, it is a wealth of information, and it is a true experience. And I think most people, when they sit there and they do that ride along for a couple hours, I think they can pretty much tell, hey, this is something I'd really like to do, or this job isn't for me. But Mike, I want to thank you for taking part in it. I hope you enjoyed it. You have to text me or send me a thing back. Let me know what precinct you did, and I'll tell them that you chimed in and that you had a good time. So I really appreciate it, my friend. Thank you. Renee, also respect you guys for all that you guys do. Don't get that enough. Renee, thank you. I appreciate that. Means a lot. I appreciate that. Jeff, I appreciate that. I have to be honest with you. Sometimes I sit on the edge of bed when I get home and I take this uniform off and drink an ice cold Mountain Dew, right? And I replay in my head: are we doing the right things? Do we have the right strategies, the right initiatives? What am I missing? What am I doing? What can we do better? But I appreciate that, and I enjoy talking to citizens and getting their input and advice and having those conversations. So I appreciate that. That's one of the things I enjoy doing at the football games. I'll try to find a way to start a conversation and just kind of ask people, what do you think? How do you feel about the department? How do you think about the community? What do you think about Newport News? And when people feel like you legitimately care and are interested, they open up, and I'll tell you, I really enjoy those conversations. Nick, thank you. I appreciate that. It's great. Kendra, it's nice to have you here. Thank you. Maria, let me see. You have brought to Newport News what is needed a long time. True police leadership. A fine group of police professionals led by the true leader. You know, Maria, I appreciate that. Let me say this. I am fortunate. I am blessed. God has blessed me to work in this city and with such great men and women in this organization, both sworn and civilian. There is a tremendous amount of talent in this police department. Not just men and women who wear the uniform, but those who work behind the scenes. Jamie sitting here beside me in the media relations that get our stories out, to talk about our stories, to talk about the good things that go on in the department, things that aren't so good, things that go on in our community, things that we're trying to do, trying to address. But I see men and women come here who are away from their families. They miss birthdays and holidays. They work at 2, 3 in the morning while you and I may be home asleep. They get up on their day off and go to court. They answer the phone when they're called back in when there's a critical situation. They leave family events to come here. They go through an academy and put on this uniform every day to serve the men and women of this city, to make Newport News the best place to live, work, and play, and to raise a family. Do we get it right all the time? Absolutely not. Are we perfect? No way. But I will say this, and some of you may have heard me say this before. We're better today than we were yesterday, and I promise you we're going to be better tomorrow than we are today. We are going to make mistakes. We'll learn from it, and we move forward. But we're not a perfect agency. I don't know any organization that is. But I promise you this, that we're always looking for ways to do better. I look at what we can do better in our own community, what's best practices in other departments, how do other departments interact with youth, how do other departments address crime, how do other departments build relationships, how do other departments bring in recruitment and retain talent. You know, I don't want quality officers here to leave to go to another agency. I want people to come to Newport News because this is where they want to police, that they know that this is a community that they're going to interact with, that we're going to focus on community and youth. We're going to, that their chief cares about them. People in this department could go work anywhere. They're talented. And believe me, in law enforcement, we're fighting each other to get the best quality officers that we can. I want people to come to this department because this is where they want to work, that they feel like they're part of a family. But we're going to be the police in Newport News. We're not going to tolerate young people taking advantage of, people oppressing others in neighborhoods, that people think they can do whatever they want in some of our more challenging neighborhoods. I'm not going to allow that. We're going to do the best we can to address crime, to get citizens buy-in, to work with us. I don't want people to be afraid to go on the front porch. And we're going to do that in every neighborhood in this city, not just select ones, every neighborhood. The citizens of Newport News matter to me. The men and women who come to work here matter to me. And I'll tell you, the successes we have, the decrease in crime, the clearance rates that we obtain, I give every bit of credit to the men and women who work here, sworn and civilian. And when we fall short, when we don't hit our goals, when we make mistakes, I'll put that on my shoulders, that I've got to create new strategies, new initiatives to try to address those things. But I want the men and women who come to work here, from Rosa, who keeps this building clean, spotless from top to bottom, that I get to see her face every morning, and she always, no matter what the situation, she always says, "Hello, Chief, have a great day," to the officer who just graduated the last academy and is working midnight shift. I am honored to work with such great people. It is a true blessing. All right, so let me get back here. I missed a little bit. Lena, Rollins, my daughter, was murdered in Newport News in 2015. Can you tell me if you have any suspects? So Lena, I can tell you, if you call, we can have a conversation. What I have done in the past, since I've been here, is several families have called me about homicides that have occurred or incidents that have occurred over the last couple of years. And I have no problem talking to you on the phone, but what I really like to do is ask if you're willing, if you're here or if you live in another state, I understand. But if you want to come in, I can bring in the detective and the homicide captain. Bring in the homicide captain. We can talk about the case, where we're at, what obstacles we're having, what's next. But there has been, I bet, probably 7 or 8 families now have come in from homicides that have occurred in years past, or some even last year, and just wanted some update. I want. Let me say this to you personally. You're not forgotten. Your loved one's not forgotten here. If that case isn't solved, then it's still open. It'll stay open until it is solved. I've only been here a year and a half. We've made a lot of changes to that homicide division. I think that they had so many cases, they had so much stuff they were dealing with, and I really want them focusing on homicides. So we created an aggravated assault unit that'll handle our shootings. I want those homicide detectives to focus on homicides, current and years past. And I want to make sure that we're trying to stay in touch with family members. So I don't want to talk about it over the live chat and stream, but if you're here locally and would like to come in, I will arrange that we can sit down together and the detectives there and talk about the case. Or if you're out of state or out of the area, or would just like a phone call, we can do something like a phone conference. If you just call the department and let me know, we'll make it happen. And let me say this, I apologize for the loss of your loved one. Homicide, I apologize for the loss of your loved one. I appreciate your message, and I'll do anything I can to help you and talk it through. We do have a homicide support group here in Newport News. A little bit of pushback at the beginning. It's a group that kind of comforts each other, talks about how to get through birthdays and holidays. They come and talk about their loved ones. They talk to detectives that are there. We don't talk about case specific. We talk about our support for each other and how to get a message out to other individuals about gun violence, about domestic violence, and telling how I can say it all day long. That's what I should say in a uniform and a badge, right? But when I put a family member, a father or a mother that talks about losing a loved one, that's a game changer. right? That impacts people. So I don't know if that's something you'd be interested in. I think it's a great group. Captain Hardy and Deputy Chief Hudgens, Deputy Chief Randall do a great job with that group, and it's good quality people to interact with. I will tell you, our last meeting, we were going around the room introducing ourselves, and there was a middle-aged lady in tears swelled up, started rolling down her face, and she got up and she walked over to a detective and just hugged him, and you could have heard a pin drop. And it was just, she said, "I remember you at the scene. I don't know your name, but I remember you at the scene." She just embraced that detective, and that to me let that whole room know that we're caring about each other and trying to make a difference in this city. But if you let me know, whatever works best for you, we'll work it out. Mark, thanks for putting the. Mark, thank you. I think that's important. I think citizens need to know in neighborhoods where something happens. All too often they see officers come, right? We come to a neighborhood, we do what we do, we respond, we put up crime scene tape, then we leave. I think we got to make sure that our residents, we certainly try to work with the family members who've lost a loved one, but those things impact the residents in neighborhoods too. Kids that go to school that live there. All too often I'm reminded and worried about the youth of our city, that they see something tragic in a neighborhood, then we send them to school. They think about that on the bus ride. They think about it while they're at school. I know Dr. Parker and I have a lot of conversations about our youth and things they experience and trauma-informed care, right? So those care walks are about 30 minutes that we partner with faith leaders in our community, professionals, social workers, health department, that walk in a neighborhood, and sometimes it's nothing more than just to tell people, here's what happened, and we want to make sure you're okay. And that's all it is, just checking with people. There's times for, hey, did you see anything? Did you hear anything? But some of those walks are to talk to citizens who live in those neighborhoods, and I just want them to know we care. So I appreciate that. Those are good events, and I wish we didn't have to do so many, but I will tell you, I think we get a lot of benefit for that. Well done, Chief. Keep up. Greg, thank you. I appreciate that. Pam, pulled over by an officer for. Yep. So Pam, I hear you. Again, that's discretion. There can be a lot of things that play into, and I'm not going to restrict officers on how to handle those situations or not. But I understand your point. Mike, you did the ride along in North Precinct, second watch. I got it. I'm making a note, and I'll send a message to them. And I appreciate you taking the time, because I'll tell you, officers who spend time with citizens who do ride-alongs, when you get a message like that somebody appreciates it, that goes a long way. So I want to make sure that I get the information back, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Patty, we are 100% better than you. Well, you lost me. We are 100% better. Patty, thank you. I'm sorry. Look, I'm getting a little older. I'm going to have to get a bigger screen. But Patty, thank you. That means a lot. And I don't know how true that is, but I'll tell you this: I get up every morning. I work with a great bunch of people, and we try to make a difference in this city. Willie, I've been a Newport News resident for 50 years. Willie, I appreciate that. That's 50 years. Thank you for living here. Thank you for supporting the city, and thank you for your comment. I appreciate that, my friend. Understood. I understand, Lena. We can do it at a phone conference. We can make it work. I'm telling you, I will accommodate you. We can make it work. It's important to me. At least we try, right? At least we try. We need two concerns, but okay, I guess you'll send them, right? I have two. Mike. So Mike, I'll tell you, one of the problems I have is I get double and triple booked. So I've got a couple different things going on at the same time with Coffee with a Cop, but I do plan to stop by there. I got to rearrange some things. I might have to cut some things short, but I do. If you're there, I hope to see you. Come and shake hands and sit down and have a little cup of coffee to get. I'm not much of a coffee guy, right? I might have a little glass of orange juice or something, but maybe sit down and talk a little bit. But I'd love to meet you and just talk to you a little bit. So yeah, I'm going to do my very best to be there. Debbie, MT has the smartest officers out there. Debbie, I appreciate that, and I will tell you, thank you, and God bless you as well. I'll tell you that the men and women in that division, they take it personally, as we all should. Homicides, domestic violence, critical incidents affect everybody who works in this city, and they affect people who live here. I want people to know that Newport News is a good city, and the perception of this city is not, in my opinion, is not what it should be. When I go to community meetings and I ask individuals, what is our crime rate? How many homicides do we have? and I hear these numbers like, 70 or 80 homicides. That's perception, and I understand that. But perception can be people's reality, but it's not factual. We've never had that many homicides in this city. So that tells me that I'm not doing a good enough job of getting the information out. And I think it's important. We try to post our crime statistics on our website. We talk about them on our live chat streams, and anywhere I go, that's usually how I start out a community meeting. Can somebody tell me what our crime rate is? And I'm always impressed with them that say, I saw the newsletter, yeah, you guys are down 8%. We're down 7.5%, Chief. Chief, we're down 20% in homicides compared to where we were last year. I want this city. This is a good city. It's growing. There's a lot of great things going on in Newport News. This is a great place to work. It's great people, great youth in this city. But yeah, I want to make sure that we try to get out the right information. Wow, Steve, thank you so much. Look, Officer Stewart, I talked to him about a week and a half ago. He's doing well. Just like anybody, he's ready to get back to work, right? Oh, Chief, I'm ready to get back to work. I'm ready to get back to work. Like, Stewart, relax, heal up. I want to make sure you're okay. The citizens need you. I need you. The department needs you. I've got a couple officers out on light duty that I've been calling and checking up on and making sure. But he is doing well. He is in very good spirits. He is a character. I'll let you know right now he is a character, but he is itching to get back to work. And he's coming along really well. I really appreciate that you took the time to ask that question. That kind of gets me choked up, man. That's really cool, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Joseph, thank you. That means a lot. I'll be sure to share that. I appreciate that, my friend. Thanks for your support, and God bless you. William, thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. That means a lot. Colleen, we're blessed to have you. Colleen, I appreciate that. I had a lot of great experiences in Richmond. I learned a lot there, and I believe that God has things planned out and for a reason, and I think I got a lot of experience there that I come here to Newport News and can work with the men and women, the talent that they have here, and kind of blend that together. We have done some restructuring. We put some different things in place. But at the end of the day, here's how we're successful. If the men and women of this city trust this police department, we're not always going to agree. I understand that, and people get upset if they get a ticket, or they might not understand why we do this or why we do that. We might not understand frustrations, but at the end of the day, I want the men and women who live in this city, in the city of Newport News, to know that the officers who wear this uniform, the detectives who work here, that the men and women who come to work here every day care about the citizens of Newport News, that they are important to us, and we try to serve them and do the best we can. So I appreciate that. Colleen, thank you very much. Joseph, can you explain what was the charges if rideshare driver had an accident with a minor in the car, but it's not in the car seat? So if I'm reading it, Joseph, an accident in the there's a child that's not in the car seat or restrained, the driver is ultimately responsible. So without going too much into that, if I'm reading that question right, and I hope I am, that if you're driving a vehicle and there's an accident and you're at fault, you're responsible for what happens. If you're not at fault, if somebody rear-ends you and the child's still not in a car seat, you're still responsible for that. The person that is occupying and ownership, controlling the vehicle, is ultimately responsible. Mike, sounds good, Mike. Hope to see you there, my friend. Large coffee on me and large orange juice, or large orange juice for me, coffee for you. As you guys put out Facebook. Joseph, thank you. I appreciate that. It's funny, Joseph, you said that about sharing. There are 455 officers in Newport News. There are 181,000 citizens in the city. Citizens see a lot more, and they're there a lot longer than we are, right? So I appreciate that. That's people getting involved, and it makes a difference. Yeah, you got to be careful. I think at the end of the day, the person driving the vehicle is responsible for if a child is not in a car seat. It is on them. It's on them. They take that ownership, so the liability is there. I want to make sure I'm not holding you guys up too long. We got a few more minutes. When I finish here, I'm going to. The mayor has a youth academy that he has. We're going to go do. I think we're going to read to some kids over at South Morrison, so I'm looking forward to that. The Adopt a School program is going well. Officers who are working day shift, captains, assistant chiefs, and the chief, right, all adopted elementary schools. I can't put an officer full-time in every elementary school. I don't have 26 officers to do that. You know that we have a school resource officer in every high school and every middle school, but I don't in elementary, and I want to do more with youth, right? I care about the youth of the city, and so we adopted schools where we spend 30 minutes a week. Whether we see kids get off the bus, see them get on the bus, we read to them in the library, to their class, in the classroom, see them in the hallway, or have lunch with them. Well, look, I adopted Jenkins Elementary because when I got here last year, that was the very first elementary school that asked me to come talk to the kids. So I've adopted that school, and I've been there to see them on opening day, like it's a baseball game, right? The first day of school, and then I've been back 2 or 3 times already, and 2 times I've had lunch. So look, I've had pancake syrup dripping off my uniform. I've got ketchup on my tie, and I promise it's not for me. But let me tell you what, 30 minutes with those kids in the cafeteria, and the questions they ask, is your horse here, and where's your dog, and do you know so-and-so, and man, I'll tell you what, I love hanging out with those kids. They will make you laugh, and the teachers, when I interact with them, they just sit back and they laugh at me. But the cafeteria workers, being around the teachers, the staff there, I really, really enjoy that time, and I make sure that my assistant Donna has that time carved out for me because I enjoy interacting with those kids, and it's something to be around them and experience them. But I really want officers to bond with the youth of this city, and I want kids in our communities to trust and feel comfortable around the police department, and that's why we do it. And I think it makes a difference. Yeah, Ben, you're right. So see the kids, and I'll tell you, it's funny, Ben. Look, I didn't micromanage officers. Do whatever you want, but you got to spend 30 minutes. And I can't tell you now the emails I get from principals and other officers. Hey, we're doing an after-school program, or hey, we started playing basketball or interacting with kids, open gym right during school, or after school, or working with kids in a gym class, or tutoring and mentoring. Officers are taking ownership, and I knew it would happen, right? I knew once they got in there, if I just created a venue and encouraged it. Sometimes officers don't like change, right? And we don't like the way things are. But creating a venue where they can get in and interact with those kids and youth, it impacts you. When those kids come up and hug, I was at a football game on Saturday, and a little boy just came over and hugged me. Never met him. Just came over and hugged me. And I sat down, and I knelt down on one knee, and we looked at each other. We gave each other a high five. We hugged each other. And his mom said, "Oh, no, I'm sorry." I'm like, no, it's okay. I just got to spend 5 minutes with that young man. I don't even remember what he was talking about. He was all over the place. Some superhero he was talking about, right? But just interacting with him, and I hope that's something that he remembers, but it meant a lot to me. And I think officers, when they interact with these young people, that they bond with them, it shows that we care. And I'll tell you, it's something. But syrup is hard to get out of a uniform. I'll tell you that. So that's a great comment, Ben. Thank you. Who did I miss? Mark. Wow. Mark, I appreciate your support. I will tell you, the men and women in this organization are top-notch, and I'm blessed to work with such a great group. I have a lot of support. Faith leaders in our community. We have a faith leaders group that meets here, and I talk to them a lot. I bounce ideas off of them. Am I doing the right thing? Am I saying the right things? How do you feel? How would you handle this situation? I do the same thing with officers and our staff. I try to get their input. I have a great police foundation. Bob and Amanda and Rob, so the members there, they're very, very supportive. We do a lot of great things. All the work that they do behind the scenes, and not only with our canine, but with our other entities, and they feel my passion for youth. We're doing a lot of things with the youth in our community, whether it's basketball or kickball is a big thing in Newport News, right? I'm still learning that. But they're very, very supportive, and we talk about how's the best way, people, how do I donate? What can I give? I'd like money to go to youth, and I'd like money to go to training programs, and our police foundation does a great job. So I really want Bob and Rob, Amanda, and everyone on the board of the police foundation to know how much I appreciate what you do for this department, for this community. I don't say it enough. I don't write it down enough. I don't post it on Facebook enough. But I want you to know you guys do great work, and what you do for this community is important. For this department, it's important, and I want to thank you. The different entities that want to work with us and partner with us. Before I came down here, I was with my secretary, and she was leaving, And she said, Chief, I got 7 letters here of people who want to come and talk to you about ideas about doing things with youth, ideas about domestic violence, ways to reduce larcenies. People want to get involved, and that's a success for me. So I look forward to hearing and talking to them about it, just hearing their ideas, and I get to meet new people and have conversations, but I enjoy that. And somebody called the other day, and they said, Chief, we'd like to interview you. We'd like to come out and talk to you. Is there a time we can, if anybody wants to talk to me or see me, I can tell you what. On a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday afternoon, I'm at Todd Stadium watching some of the best high school football in the state. Starting to know the players. I'm starting to learn some of the plays too. I can tell some of those formations. But I enjoy interacting with people in our community, and Mayor Price would say there's a vibe in the city. Our city manager, Ms. Roth, will say we have momentum, and there's a lot of good things happening in Newport News. There's a lot of good things happening, and I hope that people see this department as one of them. Let me just glaze over here and make sure I didn't. Field trip Friday. Yeah, it's a good idea. Okay, field trip. I got to get some permissions, but I'm up for that. I did. Look, we were walking in the neighborhood one time. Debbie and a school bus pulled up, and I got up on the school bus, and it was like mobbed, right? Kids just all over, right? But just to sit on a school bus and talk to kids for 5 minutes, right? It was just cool. And the bus driver just shook her head and laughed at me. David, I'm sure your officers do. David, thank you. That means a lot. Thank you. Anna is doing a pumpkin. Anna wants to know that South Precinct is doing a pumpkin paint and carve on Saturday, October the 19th. Those guys down there can't cut very well. Anna, have you seen them? They're going to have teeth breaking out and stuff, but I'm sure some kid's going to come there and do a much better job at pumpkin carving than those guys do. But I'm going to go down there and give them a hard time anyway, tease them a little bit. But we do encourage anybody to come out. It's a good time to interact. Greg, please post information about the Faith Leaders meeting. Greg, I will. I will. And now at Liberty University, wow. I would love to be in those meetings. Would I be allowed? Yes, absolutely. It's faith leaders from different churches. Some have been here for years, and some are fairly new. But they come and we just bounce ideas off each other. Usually start out the same way. I talk about our crime stats, what we're doing, some of the things that are upcoming in our community, what we're focusing on. But I would love to have you, and we usually open up with a prayer about our community. That's how we close. We also have a police chaplains group, a core group that are willing to come out when we have a homicide. We talked about the homicide we had at the Exxon lot in the northern part of the city, and there were about 30 family members, loved ones, right? And several chaplains came out and just put their arm around these people. They prayed with them. I got to talk to the family the night before, but it's just another partnership that we have to do what? To show people we care, to try to take away some of the pain. Can we fix it? No. What we can do is just stand there with them and absorb some of it and go through that process with them. So the chaplains that we have that work with us just do a phenomenal job. Carson, that's Catholic High Speeders down. Carson got it. There you go. There you go. And that's why, Anna, thank you. Chaplains group, I will be calling about that. Thanks, Chief. Greg, I look forward to hearing from you, and I'd appreciate working with you. That'd be fantastic. So look, it's 6:30, and usually I do 6 to 7. We try to do 5:30 to 6:30. I was 4 minutes late. I'm working on that, though. I'm working on it. I can't use the excuse of learning how to turn the system on. I got it down now. I got it on the first time. Kelly, thank you. But I appreciate you guys taking time. Again, this was kind of a new concept to me, a way to show or use technology to reach as many people as I can. That I'm sure that people have a lot better things to do than be listening to me or watching me on a screen. But as hectic as things are in life and stuff with their kids and family and events, and life is so fast-paced. And there's a lot to be said for community meetings, meeting one-on-one and sitting down, shaking hands, looking face-to-face, talking to each other. But I just think this is another way to reach individuals who aren't able to get out, who are busy, that on their own time can look and learn a little bit about the department, interact with the chief, interact with the department, questions, suggestions, gripes, concerns, issues. We talk them through, share a little bit of information. But at the end of the day, I want to be as open and transparent as I can. I want people to, when they see me, to come up and talk to me and, Chief Drew, And the first thing I say is, if someone introduces me to someone, I come back right away and, my name's Steve. I'm Steve. It's nice to meet you. I like trying to be personal with people, and I just believe that people want a chief that they can interact with and talk with. But I want you to trust this department. I want you to have faith in this department. We will make mistakes, but we will improve and move forward. And like I said, it's a great bunch of people to work with. Greg, again, thank you. Debbie, thanks for being with us. I appreciate that. Faith, Justin. Thanks, Anna. That's great. Mark, keep up the great work. I'd like to talk with you one day. Mark, I would love that. If you call, we'll work around your schedule. But yeah, I would love to sit down and have a conversation with you. That's great. Better than primetime TV, maybe the comedy channels, right? But Colleen, thank you. I enjoyed the conversation. David, thank you. I appreciate that. Ben, take care. You guys be safe. And let me say that to all of you. Please be safe. We're getting into, again, Domestic Violence Month in October. School's been in a month now. Just look out for each other. Be safe. If you see something, say something. Domestic violence we're really going to put a lot of emphasis on this in the month of October. We have a walk set up with our young adult police commissioners. That's our freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior from every high school. We're going to get about 11 or 12 kids coming back from last year, and then a new group will start. And Monica and Sergeant Morgan, Dr. Cherry do a great job with that group, school resource officers. That's a great group of kids. Working with teenagers, they make you look at things differently. They make you feel old. When they use phrases, I have no idea what they're talking about. I just kind of shake my head, But they're great people. Destiny's going to come back and help out a lot this year. I'm so proud of her and everything that she's doing. But again, I just wanted to thank you all for taking the time. I hope that it's a little easier sometimes, I know, than coming out with everything going on. So please be safe. Have a great evening, and we will talk to you again next month very soon, in a couple weeks. All right. Thank you, guys, and take care.